Hey everyone, I hope you've been doing what your charge was to do. This whole month of February, I asked you to read 1 Corinthians 13 to know more about love. And I know that this is coming to you at the 1st of March, but I still just want to continue to remind you that love is a very important thing. That is who God is. So just because we're no longer in the month of February, you don't have to say, well, I read 1 Corinthians 13 every day for 28 days, so I don't have to read it anymore. I still say go back and look. So we're going to end our love talk. We've talked about let love love you. We've talked about love wins, and we've talked about love forgives. So join me at the table as we talk about love heals. Like I said, we've talked about let love love you, and that's where we understand that God is love, and we allow God's love to love us. That love that God has for us is true and pure and holy, and it's a beautiful thing. And I told you sometimes in the natural, when we've got so many things going on, there's people that want to love us. There's people that want to do things for us. But if we don't receive what they want to do, we don't receive their love, it becomes hard for us. But as we've learned, we will let love love us. Then we talked about how love wins, that no matter what we're going through, if we do love's way, it always wins. It always wins. And love is of God. Love is who God is. And when we're in God and when we're in that love, we can win every time. How can we win every time? Well, sometimes love will tell us, hey, right now they're doing wrong to you, but just love them. Just stay in love. Don't worry about what they're saying or what they're doing. That'll be taken care of, but you continue to love. It might be someone did you wrong. Let's just say they cut you off in traffic. Love doesn't pull up behind them and chase them around and put some fingers up. What it does is just say, Father, I thank you for protection. Father, wherever they're going, I just thank you, Lord, that there are angels for those that are there. Make it a safe situation. That's what love does. Then we talked last week about how love forgives. You know, many people say, well, I can forgive them, but I just can't let go of what they did. Well, you're still holding on to that bitterness. It's still something that the enemy is using against you. Did you know that? If you choose not to forgive someone, or whether you choose to forgive them and say, well, I'll forgive them, but I'm never going to let them let this down. Like I forgive them, I forgive you, but I'm going to hold on to that. You are allowing the enemy to operate in your life because you're letting that root of bitterness and you're letting that unforgiveness, because it's truly unforgiveness. Yeah, they might have done me wrong. Well, what does wisdom say? Stay away from them. Or don't have fellowship with them. You've done me wrong, and now I'm going to take care of myself. I forgive you, and I'm not going to remember what you did. But now going forward, I'm going to walk in love, and I'm going to walk in wisdom. But love forgives. And like I said, today we're talking about love heals. And there are two certain scriptures that I want to talk to you about that just every time when I think of love heals, I think of these two scriptures. And it's not just healing of the physical body. These two are talking about healing of the physical body, but there's so much more, because remember, God is love and God heals. So maybe you've had some unforgiveness. Well, now that you've forgiven them and you've let it go, now let love heal you. Let love restore you. Let love make you anew. Amen? So I think of the story, and I went to the reference of Mark 5, and starting with verse 28, it talks about how this woman who had the issue of blood for 12 years, and she spent all she had. She went to all these doctors trying to get the bleeding to stop. And then she heard of Jesus, and she started thinking, I've heard that Jesus has healed this person, or I've heard that Jesus done this. If I could just touch the hem of his garment, I know I'll be made whole. And in the midst of this, Jesus is going to heal Jairus' daughter. So there's a crowd following Jesus. They're pressing in on him, and he's walking to Jairus' house to heal his daughter. And this woman, many times it has been depicted, she's on her hands and her knees, and she's crawling in the dirt through the people, kicking her, stepping on her, even probably stepping on her clothes, and she's still pulling, and she sees the hem. And I believe, thinking of just being on the ground, you're not really looking up, but I just felt that she knew that was Jesus's, because everyone was wearing different garments. But she just knew that that was Jesus's hem. And what did she do? She reached forth like faith is supposed to. Faith is supposed to take. And she touched the hem of his garment. And when she did that, she was made whole. Then Jesus stops the crowd and says, who touched me? And his disciples are like, hey, Jesus, don't you see everyone around you? Like, everyone's touching you. But he knew that when that woman touched her, that the power had been released from him. And the woman, knowing what had been done, she goes to Jesus and says, it was me. It was me. And then she told her, I've been sick, but now I'm made whole. And he even says, your faith has made you well. Your faith has made you whole. And I see that in love. This love this woman had for Jesus, in trusting him and believing in him and just saying, if I can just touch him, I'll be made whole. And Jesus' love for her to stop the crowd, to stop everything, and to say, who touched me? Because he wanted to show love to that woman. He just didn't say, oh, there went my power. Keep on walking on. And what is wonderful about this is, even after he stopped, people started running to Jesus and running to Jairus and saying, your daughter's dead. And he looked right. Jesus was right. Don't doubt. Don't fear. Only believe. What was he saying? Your love for your daughter and your love is going to be what is going to make her whole. It's that love that heals. And I think it's just such a beautiful story, because it wasn't just, to me, this story is not just about stopping the blood. It healed her life, because now that she has stopped bleeding, she doesn't have to be outcast anymore. She can be in public. She could go back to work. She could earn a living. She could tell of the testimony, all because love stopped and met a need. Love healed. I also think of the story, and I'm going to tell you, I know Nikki and I talk about how we don't really probably push for shows or different things like that, but this is depicted so beautifully, this next one, in The Chosen. The Chosen is a series, and it tells of the life of Christ and Jesus and what he did in the disciples. But this part, I mean, we paused and were crying, weeping. It was beautiful. And it just makes me think of love that heals. And this is found in Mark 2. And it is the story of the paralyzed man. And in The Chosen, it talks about how it shows you he was climbing a tree, he fell, and he was paralyzed at a young age. And he's been laying by this pool that every once in a while the angels would come down and stir up, and he would crawl and make his way to this pool so he could be healed. And he just never could get there in time before the water stopped. And it depicts it so well that Jesus went specifically to that area because he knew that that person believed in God. He didn't say, God, how could you have done this to me? He still believed. And so what he did is Jesus comes in, and here's the Pharisees are over there watching. They're, out hanging around, talking about the law and different things. And then in comes Jesus, and he looks directly at that man. And he says, come on, stand up, let's go. And then the Pharisees get mad, and it goes on, and they're saying, how could you do this? How could you do it? This is the Sabbath. It's a holy day. And he was like, hey, what is easier? And so I love this. It's depicted so beautiful. And I just see the love of God the Father and love of Jesus telling this man, you haven't been forgotten. Love still knows you. Pick up your bed and let's go. Love, it didn't just heal him from being paralyzed. It restored him. So maybe you're out there and you don't need necessarily physical healing. Maybe it's emotional healing. Maybe you need restoration. Whatever it is, let love heal you. Let love cleanse you. Let love restore you. Let love heal you. I started thinking of John 3:16 and John 10:10, where John 3:16 says that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes on him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And then I went to John 10:10, where it says that Jesus came so that we can have life and have life more abundantly. And I put those together and I said, God loved the world. He gave Jesus to give you an abundant life. Well, what is an abundant life? It's not hurting. It's not just living here, living there. It's abundant life. And I started thinking about, in a relationship, if I know that my husband is going through something hard, I want to love him and I want to help him. Whether it might be someone did something wrong to him, I want to love him. What is that love going to do? It's going to help encourage him, or it's going to heal him. Think about your children. When your child is upset about something, or whether they're even hurt, we go there with love first. We don't go there and go, what do you think you were doing? And we don't condemn them. We don't say, what did you do? How did you do this? Why did you? And just start pointing the fingers and just talking down to them. No, we say, hey, what happened? Let's work through this together. That's love. That is love. So as you go about this week, and as you go through the rest of this year and the rest of the life here on earth, know that love does heal. Love heals a broken heart. Love heals a broken spirit. Love heals brokenness. So let love heal you.